Flash Season 1 had an evil speedster with beef against the Flash. Season 2 had the novel idea of an evil speedster with beef against the Flash. Season 3 had, oh, I'm very shocked by that. My fix for Season 1, Rip Hunter, stranded in the past, turns Barry into the Flash to try to fix the damage done to the timeline. Eddie Thawne becomes the Reverse Flash when he isn't allowed to save a family member. He goes back in time to torment Barry earlier in the season. Barry rips off the tachyon vest, which gave Eddie powers. Speed Force Lightning hits Eddie, giving him natural speed. He's stranded somewhere in time or space. My Eddie is basically Hunter Zolomon of the comics. Someone had to actually use Hunter Zolomon. Heyo! Season 1 tries to be a mystery. Who's the man in yellow? This guy's doing clandestine murders in episode 2. Is it him? They throw us a curveball. The man in yellow beats up Wells. It couldn't be him. Oh, wait, it is. Season 2 isn't screaming in your face who the baddie is, then giving you reasons to doubt what they said. Instead, they give you very good reasons to suspect who it isn't, then tell you that's who it is. We get to know Jay Garrick, the Flash from Earth 2. He's not Jay Garrick, he's Zoom, our villain. Except he's not? Not Jay is on Earth 1. Zoom is on Earth 2. Zoom kills Jay. Zoom unmasks. Whoa, it's Jay. Later, he says he found a time remnant and convinced him to allow himself to get murdered as part of some elaborate prank on Team Flash. A time remnant is some kind of echo of somebody from a different point in time. After Eddie shot himself, his descendants shouldn't exist, right? No, they still exist. Time remnant. Don't think too much about it. I don't know how it works. I'm pretty sure the people who made this show don't know either. All that matters is creating confusion so we don't see through the mystery. Anyone remember Jay passing a lie detector test? Just me? When Barry first travels in time, he goes back one day and somehow replaces the Barry of that day. In the Season 1 finale, when Barry goes back in time, you have Kid Barry, Season 1 Barry, and older Barry who is chasing Eobard Thawne. None of them replace each other. In Season 2, Barry goes back to Season 1 to talk to Wells, and he pulls a Marty McFly on Season 1 Flash. It's only then the Time Wraith starts chasing Barry, after he's already time traveled twice. Thawne says it's because he doesn't know what he's doing. What? Thawne made a much bigger splash when he set off the particle accelerator earlier in the timeline. The Wraiths are okay with that, but not Barry stopping Pied Piper? Why does the Time Wraith only target speedsters? Legends of Tomorrow's entire premise was time traveling in every episode. Why does the Time Wraith look like a demon Flash? If you tell me this is how it works, and it doesn't work like that, I'll lose interest real quick. These characters aren't charming enough to keep me watching when the series doesn't make sense. When Zoom kills his time remnant, why does he say this is a complication? You told your buddies this was part of the plan. How did Zoom convince his time remnant to let himself get murdered? What exactly did that serve? Zoom's dying and he needs speed. Come to Earth 1, suck Barry's speed. Oh, he needs their cooperation to get speed. Shoot Cisco, I can remove the bullet if you give me Barry's speed. We wouldn't have a show if he did that. If none of Zoom's actions make sense, go back to the drawing board. Instead of Zoom, I would use Reverse Flash again. Open on the CW version of Earth 10. We see the corpses of the Arrow, Deathstorm, Black Canary, and this world's version of the Flash, called the Blitz, getting the tar beat out of him by the Reverse Flash. In the comics, speedsters can lend or take speed without mad science. That's what Eddie's doing. He drops the Blitz to his knees and leaves him to this world's freedom fighters. Things are more or less going well on Earth 1, except for Barry and Iris. The show wanted the will they won't they, but it felt like they asked a third grader how they should stall that relationship. Iris is with Eddie, but when she's about to die, she tells Barry she loves him. When Barry goes back in time and tries to preemptively tell Iris how he feels, she says, I'm not feeling it. Iris is an awful liar, stringing Eddie along for no reason. She does this again in Season 2. Her boss wants her to write a story. Instead, Iris invites him out for coffee. He thinks this is a date. She's all, ew, a date? Then she says, wait, I'm okay with dating you. Immediately, she tells Barry she's in love with him. In Season 1, when Barry tries to move on, Iris deliberately sabotages his relationship with Linda. But Iris and Barry are in-game. It's okay for them to be horrible if it's in service of them being a couple. If they're horrible, I don't care about them getting together. Here, Iris kind of hates Barry. She knows it's not his fault Eddie went crazy, but emotionally, she can't help but blame Barry for all his Flash nonsense leaking into her and Eddie's life. Eventually, Iris can move on from this, but this is a solid reason for her and Barry to not get together, especially after they both know how they feel, and for some reason, the show didn't go ahead with Barris. It's not quite as bad with Joe, but it's similar. I got the feeling Joe didn't like Eddie. At least when it came out, Eddie was banging Iris. But now Joe's lost two partners to this metahuman nonsense. So while he isn't as outwardly hostile toward Barry as Iris is, he understands where Iris is coming from. The rest of Team Flash has broken up, but we would still keep our supporting characters in the show. In the comics, Barry is supposed to be really smart. He has these interesting uses uses of his powers. In the show, Barry is the stupidest person in the universe. He doesn't have a supporting cast in on his secret in the comics. I get it, we need dialogue. It would be a pretty drab series if it was just Barry monologuing about how to defeat the top. Okay, we get it, you're aggressive in bed, no need to brag. But when you have 3 or 4 people in on Barry's secret, they need something to do. So Barry is relegated to asking, how do I defeat someone who throws boomerangs? I'm fast enough to travel in time, but I'm having trouble with this guy. Someone says, Barry, you have to run at Mach 2 to catch a boomerang. You've gone faster than that, but let's act like we're in awe. Wow, take away Barry's support group. Force Barry to figure this out on his own. Rip Hunter, Cisco, and Caitlin are maintaining a wing at Iron Heights Prison that can hold metahumans. They're still friends with Barry, and we can find ways to work them into episodes, but they're not at Star Labs holding Barry's hand. He's had to grow up, which makes sense. He blames himself for his mom's death, thinks maybe he should have gone back in time to help Eddie. I don't want this to become all doom and gloom, but Barry isn't as cheerful as he might have been in Season 1. Barry meets a metahuman from a different Earth, but he's not sent here to kill Barry. That'd be stupid. What if he succeeded? Zoom wouldn't get his speed. Our team starts brainstorming. They figure out Barry's fight with Eddie at the end of Season 1 broke the walls of the multiverse. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes after someone discovers a thin spot between worlds, they deliberately cross over. I can rob a bank over here and enjoy my efforts over there. In the show, there was a particle accelerator on Earth 2, which doesn't make sense because on Earth 1, Thawne said he would have to speed up, no pun intended, speed up Harrison Wells' timetable to get the particle accelerator built sooner. I see no reason why the Earth 2 Wells would have built it a year before Earth 1 Wells. Instead, when Rip Hunter built the particle accelerator, he somehow tapped into the Speed Force, which he didn't know existed. The Speed Force didn't just give Barry powers, it gave others different abilities as well. It's very Smallvillian how it worked in the show, and finding a unique origin for everybody's powers would not be easy. But this guy was buried alive in tar as the accelerator went off. Now he's a tar man. This guy inhaled poisonous gas. Now he can turn into poisonous gas. After a while, that gets old. Get a little vague with it. These people got different powers, even with Rathaway's tempering. Rip says it shouldn't have behaved this way. Eddie got stranded on another world, and wouldn't you know it, on this world, his family life sucks as well. But he's going to do something about it. Or try. He's fast, but not quite fast enough to time travel. But he figures out how to take the speed of a speedster on this world. Now he's fast enough to change the past. But it has consequences, as Barry warned him it would. His sister's alive now, but when he saved her from getting hit by a car, the car swerved and hit 2 other people. At first, that's a sacrifice he's willing to make. But he decides to be an even better hero than Barry. He abuses his time travel. Any tragedies he sees in the papers, he prevents them. And after a while, it seriously warps this world. Just like the Speed Force altered others besides Barry on Earth 1, Eddie's continued use of the Speed Force to bend the timeline will have similar effects on people on this world. It gets so bad, Eddie abandons ship. His fight with Barry didn't just connect Earth 1 with this world, it opened up breaches to many worlds. Eddie goes to another world. Maybe I'm just not fast enough. If I can get faster, I can prevent this next world from going to Hades in a handbasket. In Season 1, Cisco got killed by Wells. It was undone by time travel, but it no pun intended, reverberated into the Cisco who didn't get killed, giving him powers. Here, something happens that unlocks his latent powers he got from the particle accelerator. Cisco finally vibes something on another world and figures everything out. Barry's been holding back because he knows he and Eddie caused all this. That and him accidentally giving Eddie powers, he doesn't want to accidentally do that again. But now he sees he's ruined the multiverse, even more than Hollywood already has. Hey-o! Yeah, I hate the multiverse, but go nuts. Visit many worlds Eddie tries to fix. It doesn't have to be a different world in every episode. Split the season up into 3 or 4 episode arcs, where we can see how the speedsters Eddie is targeting differ from Barry, and what he may or may not learn in his experiences in chasing Eddie. We would still have adventures on Earth 1. Team Flash had to invent a machine that helps Barry track which world Eddie will go to next, so we have typical adventures on Earth 1 before he goes to another world. One such world, Joe West and his wife never separated, and they have a son, Wally. I did not hate how the show handled Wally. When he first shows up, he's kinda a brat, but I get why. My big problem, 1, Barry continues to be a childish idiot who his support group has to babysit, so when you introduce someone who is supposed to be Barry's sidekick that he is a mentor to, you don't buy that relationship will ever happen. And the actor's basically the same age as Gustin. Kinda weird if you want Barry to be his mentor. I don't know if that's the direction the show went in, but if that is what you want to do, you need to set it up properly. Get someone who seems a little younger than Barry. Nothing against the actor, but he has to drag race to pay for his mom's medical bills. Wally was forced to grow up faster, no pun intended, faster than normal. He seems more mature than Barry. If we go with a multiverse for our Wally, he can act young and naive compared to bitter Barry. Barry chased Eddie to this world, and in trying to catch Eddie, accidentally summons more Speed Force lightning that hits Wally. On top of Barry trying to clean up his mess with Eddie, he's now trying to guide this kid so he doesn't end up messing things up like Eddie did. It's on this world Barry meets Jay Garrick, who Eddie has not tracked down yet. Barry's hopeful. Maybe we can come up with a strategy to stop Eddie before he tanks this world too. Eddie hasn't even time traveled yet, but his corruption of the Speed Force is already beginning to warp this world. When Jay sees that, he suggests a Connor and Duncan MacLeod situation from Highlander Endgame. Wally is like, no, who will protect our world if you don't have your powers? Jay just smiles and Barry sees, yeah, we have to do this. You can't just throw Eddie in prison. What are you gonna do? Tell them he went back in time and killed your mom? The only way to stop him is to do what Jay taught Barry and steal Eddie's speed. He steals just enough that Eddie is basically powerless, but like in season 1, Eddie manages to escape. You could somehow bring him back later if you can find a good story for him. Just a couple of episodes before the season finale, Barry spent an entire episode trapped in the Speed Force. Barry's refusal to move on from his mom dying was holding him back. He finally mourns his mother and moves on. Then Zoom kills Henry, Barry goes back in time and saves his mom. Character progression? Barry could have gone back a couple of days and brought the time wraiths with him and sicked them on Zoom like he did in the finale. Then his dad would have still been alive. No, he needs to stay dead, but his mom, who he had gotten over, he wants to save her. Even though he knows time travel is dangerous and messes things up. But this time, I feel sad. I want to create a time paradox. Anyone know how to call the time wraiths to stop this idiot? Flashpoint is probably the most well-known Flash story, but by its very nature, you're throwing everything you did in the trash when you do Flashpoint. I'm not sure when the Flash became the time travel guy, but I hate it because there are actual time travel characters where time travel is their entire thing, but now Flash is super fast and time travels. Sometimes I get in a Flash mood. When I'm watching Flash, I don't want to be reminded of this other show I'm not watching. It was a good idea to piggyback off Arrow's success when starting the Flash. Arrow was very popular, but I'd already jumped off the Arrow bandwagon before Flash season 1 ended. I lost interest anytime those characters came over here. Barry asked Diggle how Felicity is holding up. They don't bother to explain what Barry's talking about, so I have to Google it. It got really bad in the episode with Vandal Savage. The season loses all momentum to do this crossover with Arrow. In my Legends of Tomorrow video, I suggested that should be where you do all your DC Universe stuff, and Arrow and Flash could continue to do their own thing in their own shows without interrupting the momentum of the story you're trying to build. If Barry time travels here, that should have consequences in Arrow. Apparently it did. Diggle's kid changed gender. But what if someone is still interested in Arrow, but they don't care about Flash? Whoa, what's going on? When Barry absorbs Eddie's speed, Flash seemingly melts, like he did in this season whenever they tried to give him his powers back. Jay and Wally are like, what? Barry got so fast from absorbing all this speed, the Speed Force sucked him in to have a conversation with him. I won't be doing a video on season 3, but our hypothetical season 3 would begin with Barry basically accepting he's made some mistakes and now he has to be a better hero. He needs to take Wally under his wing, and you would send Wally back to his Earth by the end of the season so he can be the new Flash of this world. That was a lot longer than I intended it to be. I really don't know where you would go from here, but hopefully this seems like an improvement over the season we got. There's other stuff you would have to figure out, how to keep your supporting cast in the series without them mollycoddling Barry, but this was already getting way too long. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, I do these kinds of videos all the time, so check some of them out. Until next time, have a good one.